Good morning, kids. Welcome to our Mathematics 6 class. For today's lesson, we will learn how to divide whole number by decimal number, divide decimal number by whole number, and divide decimal number by decimal number. Now let us have these examples. Example number 1 is 15 divided by 5/10. 15, which is an example of a whole number, is our dividend, and 5/10 is our divisor. Now, how are we going to divide whole number by decimal number? We can do that by using the long division method. This symbol also means division. Your dividend, which is 15, must be inside. And your divisor, which is 5/10, must be outside. Now, since our divisor is a decimal number, kailangan gawin muna natin siyang whole number. Paano natin gagawin yun? By simply moving the decimal point from left to right. Kaliwa pa kanan. Malinaw po ba? So let us move the decimal point here to make it a whole number. Let us move this once to the right. So instead of having 5/10, it will become 5. Now, since we move the decimal point in our divisor once, we need to move the decimal point in our dividend once. Okay, nasaan ba ang decimal point dito? Since this is a whole number, ang decimal point niya ay nasa unahan ng 5. So let us move this from left to right once. So as you see, nagkaroon siya ng bakanting space. Anong gagawin? Lagyan ng 0. Now, instead of having 15, you will have now 150. Now, we can divide using the following steps. We have the D, we have the M, we have the S, and B. Now, what do you mean by D? D means divide. M means multiply. S means subtract. And B means bring down. Now, let us do the following step. So, first, let us divide. 1 divided by 5 cannot be. So, we need to move to the next place. It will become now 15. 15 divided by 5 is equals to 3. Where are we going to put 3? Sa taas ng 5. Bakit sa taas ng 5? Kasi dyan tayo nagsimulang mag-divide. Then the next step is multiply. Multiply your partial quotient to your divisor. That will be now 3 times 5 is equals to 15. Saan ilalagay ang 15? Sa ibaba ng 15. Then the next step is subtract. 5 minus 5 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. So the answer is 0. Then, bring down. Then the next step is bring down. Bring down the digit 0. Then, go back to the first step, which is divide. 0 divided by 5 is equals to 0. Then the next step is multiply. 0 times 5 is equals to 0. Then the next step is subtract. 0 minus 0 is equals to 0. Now, since wala na tayong i-bring down, ibig sabihin ng tapos na yung ginawa natin pag-divide. So, ano ngayon na magiging final answer natin? The final answer will be 30. Malinaw sana mga bata, ano? So, let us have another example. We have 124 divided by 500. Again, 124 divided by 500. So again, let us solve this problem using the long division method. First, gawin muna natin whole number ang ating divisor. Ilang beses natin i-move yung ating decimal point from left to right para siya maging whole number. Very good. 2 beses. So, 1, 2. So, instead of having 500, it will become 5. Now, dahil minove natin ang decimal point natin sa ating divisor ng 2 beses, kailangan din natin i-move ang ating decimal point sa ating dividend ng 2 beses. Nasaan ba ang decimal point niyan? Since this is a whole number, ang decimal point niyan ay nasa unahan ng 4. So let us move twice. May dalawang vacant space, lagyan ng 2 0. So instead of having 124, it will become 12,400. Now, let us divide using the DMSB. So first, let us divide. 1 divided by 5 cannot be. So we need to move to the next place. It will become now 12. 12 divided by 5 is equals to 2. Saan ilalagay ang sagot? Sa taas ng 2. Bakit? Kasi dyan tayo nagsimulang mag-divide. Next step is multiply. Multiply the partial quotient by your divisor. That will be now 2 times 5 is equals to 10. Then, the next step is subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then, bring down digit 4. Then, go back to the first step, which is divide. 24 divided by 5 will give you 4. Then, multiply. 4 times 5 is equals to 20. Then, subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. Then, the next step is bring down. Bring down the digit 0. Then, go back to the first step, which is divide. 40 divided by 5 is equals to 8. Then, multiply. 8 times 5 is equals to 40. Then, subtract. 40 minus 40 is equals to 0. Meron pa tayong i-bring down na isang 0. We need to bring down 0. Right? So, dahil nag-bring down tayo, babalik tayo sa first step, which is divide. 0 divided by 5 is equals to 0. And then, multiply. 0 times 5 is equals to 0. Then, subtract. 0 minus 0 is equals to 0. Since wala na tayong i-bring down, that means tapos na yung ating pag-divide. Ngayon, so what will be now our final answer? That will be 2,480. So, nawa, naging malinaw sa inyo. Now, let us have the following examples. We have example number 1. 12 and 4/10 divided by 4. Our dividend is 12 and 4/10. This is an example of decimal number. And our divisor is 4, which is a whole number. Now, paano ba mag-divide ng decimal number by whole number? So, we can do this using the long division method. Your dividend must be inside, which is 12 and 4/10. And your divisor must be outside, so 4. Now, in dividing decimal numbers by a whole number, i-neglect nyo muna yung decimal point. Divide as if you are dividing whole number. So, wag nyo muna pansinin yung decimal point. Mag-divide na tayo agad using the D, M, S, B. D means divide, M means multiply, S means subtract, and B means bring down. Let us divide. First, so we have 1 divided by 4 cannot be. So we need to move to the next place. It will become now 12. 12 divided by 4 is equals to 3. Where are we going to write 3? Sa taas ng 2. Bakit sa taas ng 2? Kasi doon tayo nagsimulang mag-divide. Malinaw? Then, after that, multiply. Multiply your partial quotient to to your divisor. So that will be now 3 times 4 is equals to 12. Saan nilalagay yung sagot natin na 12? Sa baba ng 12. Then next is subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then, next step is bring down. Bring down the digit 4. Then, go back to the first step, which is divide. 4 divided by 4 is equals to 1. Then, multiply. 1 times 4 is equals to 4. And then, subtract. 4 minus 4 is 0. Since wala na tayong number na i-bring down, that means tapos na yung ating pag-divide. Ngayon, anong gagawin natin sa decimal point? Just simply copy the decimal point directly above. Kopyahin nyo lang yung decimal point sa tapat niya. So that will be now our answer. Our answer will be 3 1/10. Sana malinaw sa inyo mga bata. Let us have another example. We have 4 500 divided by 10. So again, let us solve this using the long division method. So we have 4 500 divided by 10. So again, since our divisor is a whole number, pwede natin siyang i-divide ng diretso. As if we are dividing a whole number. Okay. I-neglect nyo muna yung decimal point. Malinaw ba mga bata? Okay. So let us divide using DDMSB. Divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. So first, let us divide 4 divided by 10 cannot be. So let us move to the next place. That will give you now 40. 40 divided by 4 is equals to, 40 divided by 10 is equals to 4. Saan natin isusulat yung 4? Sa taas ng 0. Bakit? Kasi nung tayo nagsimulang mag-divide. Tatandaan niyo yung mga bata, kung saan kayo nagsimulang mag-divide, din ilalagay yung sagot nyo. Then next is multiply. Multiply your partial quotient to the divisor. That will be now 4 times 10 is equals to 40. Then subtract. The answer is 0. Then, bring down 5. Now, let us divide. Go back to the first step, divide. 5 divided by 10 is cannot be. So, what will be now our answer? That will be now 0. Then, multiply. 0 times 10 is equals to 0. Subtract. Then, the answer is 5 minus 0. The answer is 5. Now, we need to add 0 in our dividend. Then, bring down 0. So, you will have now 50. Then, go back to divide. That will be now 50 divided by 10 is equals to 5. Then, multiply. 5 times 10 will give you 50. Then subtract. 50 minus 50 is equals to 0. Now, once you're through dividing the numbers, you can now put the decimal point. All you have to do is to copy the decimal point directly above. Kopyahin nyo lang sa dulo, sa taas ng decimal point, sa tapat niya. And then, add 0 nyo sa unahan. So, our answer is 405 thousandths. That will be now our final answer. I hope naging malinaw sa inyo yung mga bata. Okay. We have 2 42 divided by 2 tenths. If you notice, our dividend and our divisor, both of them are decimal numbers. So, paano natin siya i-divide? Paano ba mag-divide ng decimal numbers by decimal numbers? So, first, kailangan muna natin gawin whole number ang ating divisor. So, paano natin gagawing whole number yan? By simply moving the decimal point once. So, instead of having 2 tenths, it will become now 2. Then, since we move the decimal point in our divisor once, we need to move the decimal point in our dividend also once. So, let us move. So, it will become now 24 and 2 tenths. Now, let us divide using the long division method. So, we have 24 and 2 tenths divided by 2. Let us divide this using the D, M, S, B. D means divide, M multiply, S subtract, and B bring down. Okay, let us divide. 2 divided by 2 is equals to 1. Then, multiply. Multiply your partial quotient to your divisor. 2 times 1 is 2. Then, subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. Then, bring down. Bring down the digit 4. Then, go back to the first step, which is division or divide. We have 4 divided by 2 is 2. Write your answer above digit 4. Then, multiply. 2 times 2 is equals to 4. Then, subtract. 4 minus 4 is equals to 0. Then, bring down. Bring down the digit 2. Then we have, go back to the first step, which is divide. 2 divided by 2 is equals to 1. Then multiply. 1 times 2 is equals to 2. Then subtract. 2 minus 2 is equals to 0. Since we have no digit 2 bring down, so that means tapos na tayo. But, ano ang gagawin natin sa decimal point? Just simply copy the decimal point above. Kopyahin lang natin yung decimal point sa taas. Dapat pantay, ha? Okay. So, our final answer will be 12 and 1 tenths. Sana malinaw sa inyo yung mga bata. Let us have another example. Example number 2. We have 4 and 52 hundredths divided by 4 hundredths. So, as you see, parehas silang decimal number. So, anong una natin gagawin sa ating divisor? Kailangan gawin muna siyang whole number. Okay, ilang beses natin i-move yung decimal point sa ating divisor para maging whole number siya? 2 beses. So, let us move twice to the right. 1, 2. So, this will become now 4. Now, since we move the decimal point in our divisor twice, kailangan din natin i-move ang decimal point sa ating dividend ng 2 beses. So, that will be now 1, 2. It will become now 452. Now, let us divide using the long division method. So, we have 452 divided by 4. Let us divide using the DMSB. First is divide. 4 divided by 4 is equals to 1. Write your answer above 4. Next is multiply. 1 times 4 is equals to 4. Next is subtract. 4 minus 4 is equals to 0. Next is bring down. Bring down the digit 5. Next is go back to the first step, which is divide. 5 divided by 4 is equals to 1. Write your answer above digit 5. Then, multiply. 1 times 4 is equals to 4. Then, subtract. 5 minus 4 is equals to 1. Then, bring down. Bring down the digit 2. Then, go back to the first step, which is divide. 12 divided by 4 is equals to 3. Then, multiply. 3 times 4 is equals to 12. Then, subtract. 12 minus 12 is equals to 0. Dahil wala natin i-bring down, so that means tapos na yung ating pag-divide. So, therefore, our answer is 113. So, nawa, naging malinaw sa inyo ang lesson for today.